Hi everyone, it's Annie. So, what I wanted to talk briefly about today is just anxiety, depression, just mental health, I guess in general, but mainly anxiety, what I was thinking about. Um it's there's a pandemic going on right now with COVID-19, but there's also a pandemic with anxiety, depression, and all sorts of mental health issues. And obviously, during this pandemic and the quarantining and all that stuff, anxiety is much more on the rise. And it just brought me to thinking about how many people that I've met with or talked to who have anxiety and don't know why, or they just refer to it as, I have generalized anxiety. I just have anxiety. I don't know why, but I just do. And I'm starting to feel like I don't think that's good enough. Not on the person. I'm more talking about the system. I'm not talking about this person knows why they're anxious and they ought to, fess up. I feel like in the DSM, going back to that again, we have different categories of anxiety. We have different categories of depression. But specifically to anxiety, we have, phobias, OCD. We have specific anxieties. Like you have an anxiety to something specific. Like I am afraid of snakes. They make me anxious. It's a phobia. Or I have social anxiety. I'm afraid of social situations. So if there's ever a time where I need to be in a social environment, I'm going to experience anxiety. So then I think it's starting to really bother me when I think about all of these anxieties that have a cause, a specific cause, not even just a cause. And then we have generalized anxiety, which is basically just stating that it's general, like it's not to anything specific. It's just like you have anxiety. And I think that that's baloney. I think that instead of generalized, it perhaps ought to be unknown anxiety disorder. Not really that, but because I think we need to recognize that your anxiety exists for a reason. You're anxious about something, but maybe it's not something specific like a bird or heights, but it might be more of a construct. It might be the fear, you're anxious, you have a fear of failure. Therefore, anytime you're in a situation where you may not complete a task correctly, like you're going to be super anxious. You may be anxious or have a fear of people judging you, people criticizing you. You may have anxiety of people not liking you. Like all these things, I feel like are more of what might be going on when we're just diagnosing someone as having generalized anxiety disorder. But I do think that there's a lack of awareness of that. But I wonder if we broke it down into more of these categories, if people would recognize it more readily. Like if we did categorize it like, oh, there's social anxiety, there's phobias, and then there's, fear of the unknown, fear of being out of control, fear of death and dying, fear of losing loved ones, fear of pain, fear of people criticizing you, fear of getting something wrong. I think if we categorized it more like that, people might be able to more pick and choose. They're like, oh, that's it. Like, I'm afraid of that. And then we can go somewhere. But when you're just talking about generalized anxiety, I don't know how true that is. I don't know if it is just in general. I think that there is a cause and a reason. And I know that some people have panic disorder and panic attacks, and they come out of nowhere. Um, and there may be a physical cause. And I'm not saying by any means like that these experiences of anxiety attacks or panic attacks are not nightmarish. They certainly are. But I feel like there is always a cause. There's always something behind it. And not that it means that you're thinking about that and it results in a panic attack, but there's something going on and you just might not have that awareness now or yet. Also, with regards to depression, I think our society is just so depressed lately. In the past several decades, it's been worse, and suicidality as well has been on the rise. Again, I think there's a cause. I think we just don't know. And I think that part of the cause might be just that this culture is so focused on how do we become happy. That's what we're looking for, the happiness. You can't, like, there is no rainbow that you hit and then you're happy forever. Life is a journey and there's going to be ups and downs. And I think that if we're not feeling the way society tells us we ought to be feeling, a lot of times we get stuck and we feel like there's something wrong with us. Anyway, so that's one of my theories is to a cause of depression. Not the chemical imbalances, not that those also don't play a factor, but just the fact that it's been on such a huge rise, and I think that we need to recognize that we just don't know. We don't know, but there is a reason. I do, in my heart of hearts, believe that when people feel dysthymic or have depression, it's not just because. It's not just because it runs in your family or you tend to be depressed. There's something going on. And again, we need to expand consciousness. We need to expand our self-awareness to get at the why, because it's harder to heal when you don't know the why. So that's it for now. Thanks for listening, and I hope everyone has a good day.